Government gang stalking. Societal stress leads to regression. Sustained anxiety leads the American Stasi neoconservatives to lose touch with the principles upon which America was founded. The profound regressive behavior of mobbing, government gang stalking, by a percentage of our population, police, firemen, EMS, ambulance drivers, security guards, neighborhood watch group members using red cars, red trucks, wearing or carrying red in conspicuous surveillance, can be explained by the concept of the emotional process in society. In her book, The 8 Concepts of Bowen Theory, Dr. Roberta M. Gilbert writes, "There is growing evidence that the emotional problem in society was similar to the emotional problem in the family. The triangle exists in all relationships, and that was a small clue. When a family is subjected to chronic sustained anxiety, the family begins to lose contact with its intellectually determined principles and to resort more and more to emotionally determined decisions to allay the anxiety of the moment. The results of this process are symptoms and eventually regression to a lower level of functioning. The same process is evolving in society." Turnaround of a societal regression, such as we are now experiencing, requires concerted actions that is grounded in recognition and acceptance of the interdependence of the human and other species and the ultimate dependence of all species, including human, on planet Earth. Continuous war, torture, beheadings, drone attacks, the loss of civil liberties, mass surveillance, government gang stalking, the attack on the Bill of Rights will continue without a whole new way of thinking. We are living in the age of the isolated mind, the age of ego, me and mine versus the other, where those in power try to force their will, their values on the other. Threats to the ego are followed by emotional thinking, anxiety, attack. Peace requires a new kind of thinking, the thinking of we, not the we of the gang stalkers, the undifferentiated psychology of the mob, but the we of the participative whole, of which we realize we are all a part, a system where we contribute what is best in us through individuation, developing our individuality, sharing our gifts, taking responsibility for our contribution to one organic, ever-growing, ever-changing whole. Society, not dominated by the isolated mind, often the abuse of power by sociopaths, becomes a society run by information, facts, a consideration of facts gathered in a comprehensive, transparent way. Information, the comprehensive hearing of all voices, not domination by our military-industrial complex, the military perspective, or our intelligence-industrial complex, our intelligence perspective, but facts gathered from every sector of society, all the voices in the world, to come up with courses of action that reflect facts. We need institutions that help people to unfold their individuality and to develop a strong sense of self, that develop autonomous people who can contain their anxiety, whose behavior is determined by thinking long and hard about the principles they believe in that will govern their life, the life of our world. We need to develop a society not driven by emotion, but determined by people thinking together in dialogue. We need to be able to recognize triangles and interlocking triangles that reduce tension at the expense of finding lasting solutions to problems. In particular, anxiety, response to a threat, whether or not a threat is recognized, can be transmitted within and between societies through the operation of the triangle. We need a society to replace linear thinking with systems thinking. I was watching Fox last night, who had on 2 generals who had just addressed Congress. Yes, we must hear from the military perspective. But if that is the primary perspective we hear from, we will continue to engage in continuous war. You don't go to a surgeon to get a holistic approach to treating your problem. If you go to a surgeon, chances are good you will get surgery. If you go to the military, chances are good you will get a military solution. In the section of my website, The American Reform Movement, entitled Research on Terrorism, researcher John Horgan says, "I learned a very valuable lesson, and that is that there is more said about terrorism than is really based on research. If you had an illness, wouldn't you want your doctor to use what research tells us is the most effective method of treating it? When was the last time you heard the president talking to the American people about what we can learn about terrorism from research? Or when was the last time you saw an interview on our media with researchers into terrorism? It is time to hear from more than the perspective of the pundits who read an article in Wikipedia, or from just the military or just the intelligence sector. Researchers use words like entangled terrorisms, the roots of violence, which could provide insights to get at the heart of our problems rather than just treating symptoms. We are at a crossroads. The choices are clear: to stay on the path that we are on, a path driven by anxiety, or to chart a new course that is more inclusive, more comprehensive, less dominated by emotion and the corrupting effect of the emotional process in society."